The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled under the light of three suns. Inside, thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in curved rows that reached toward the ceiling. Some floated in anti-gravity bubbles, while others stayed in special environmental pods. The air hummed with translation devices as hundreds of languages merged into a quiet buzz of conversation. Thomas Reed tried to make himself invisible in the observers section, a small area reserved for species that hadn't yet joined the council. At 35, he was one of the few humans who had ever seen this place. His simple black suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and natural displays of the other species, but that was exactly how he wanted it. The less attention he drew, the more he could learn. The council's grand speaker, a tall being with silver skin that reflected light like a mirror, stood at the center platform. We will now discuss the routine matters of trade routes in the spiral arm sectors. It announced in the formal tone used for all council meetings. But something was different today. Thomas noticed several council members looking at their data screens with growing concern. Whispers spread through the chamber like ripples in a pond. The grand speaker's silver skin flickered, a sign of nervousness that Thomas had learned to recognize over his months of observation. A blue-skinned council member from the Technological Development Committee suddenly stood up, breaking protocol. "Honored Speaker, we must address an urgent matter." The chamber fell silent. Even the floating anti-gravity bubbles seemed to stop moving. The grand speaker's surface rippled with annoyance at the interruption, but it nodded. "Proceed." The blue being's hands shook as it projected a series of images into the center of the chamber. "Our monitoring stations have detected impossible energy signatures from a previously unremarkable system." The images showed Earth's solar system. Thomas's heart began to beat faster. "This species," the blue being continued, "has achieved something that defies our understanding of technological progression. They have developed faster than light travel through means we cannot explain." Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Thomas fought to keep his face neutral, but inside he was smiling. The council had finally noticed. "That's impossible," called out another member. "The progression of technological advancement is well documented. No species can skip the required steps. It would be like a Stone Age creature building a quantum computer." The blue being shook its head. They did not skip steps. They found a completely different path. Their method of FTL travel uses principles we have never considered. They combine their understanding of quantum mechanics with gravitational manipulation in ways our scientists believed impossible. Thomas remembered the day humanity had cracked the code. It hadn't come from a massive government project or a wealthy corporation. Instead, a team of researchers from 3 different universities had made the breakthrough while trying to solve a completely different problem. That was humanity's gift, seeing connections that others missed. "How long has this species been industrial?" someone asked. "Approximately 300 standard cycles." The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had taken thousands of years to reach the stars couldn't accept that humanity had done it in mere centuries. Thomas watched as the council members argued among themselves, their carefully maintained order crumbling in the face of this revelation. "We must contain them," shouted one member. "Study them," called another. "Quarantine their entire system." The grand speaker's skin flashed bright white, restoring order. "We will proceed according to protocol. First, we must." But the speaker never finished that sentence. Every screen in the chamber suddenly lit up with new information. The humans hadn't just developed FTL travel. They had already used it. The tracking systems showed human ships appearing and disappearing across dozens of sectors. Thomas finally allowed himself a small smile. Earth had hoped to keep their achievements quiet for a few more months, but now that the secret was out, things would move quickly. In his pocket, he felt his communicator vibrate. The signal he had been waiting for. Earth's official delegation was ready to make their entrance. The council thought this was a shocking discovery. Thomas knew it was just the beginning. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that sometimes the impossible just needed a fresh perspective. And as he watched the council trying to process this first revelation, he wondered how they would handle the other surprises humanity had in store. The council's investigation ship dropped out of FTL Drive at the edge of Earth's solar system. Its hull gleamed like polished silver under the distant sun's light. Inside, 4 of the galaxy's most experienced observers prepared their equipment while their captain, a tall being with crystalline features, studied the preliminary scans. "Impossible," the captain muttered, adjusting the sensors again. The readings showed human settlements not just on Earth, but spread across their solar system. Bases on their moon, cities on Mars, mining operations in the asteroid belt, and research stations orbiting every major planet from Mercury to Neptune. One of the observers, who looked like a floating cloud of purple gas, moved closer to the display. "They've done in 3 centuries what takes most species 5,000 years to achieve." The being's voice crackled with a mixture of fear and admiration. The ship moved closer, cloaked in technology that should have made it invisible to human detection systems. But as they passed Mars, their sensors picked up something odd. They were being tracked. Somehow, the humans could see them. "Captain," called out another observer, their tentacles waving in agitation, "you need to see this." The screens filled with images from Earth's surface. Humans lived everywhere, in frozen wastelands, burning deserts, deep underwater, and high in the mountains. They had built cities in places that most species would consider uninhabitable. A research station in Antarctica caught their attention. Humans worked outside in temperatures that would kill most intelligent species, protected only by what seemed like surprisingly simple protective gear. Nearby, others swam in deep ocean research labs, their bodies adapting to pressures that should have crushed them. How do they survive in such conditions? The crystalline captain wondered aloud. The answer came from their deepest scans. Humans had barely modified themselves genetically. Instead, they had adapted their environment to suit their needs while developing technology to protect themselves. The ship's AI flagged something else. Weapons, but not just any weapons. The humans had taken nearly every scientific breakthrough they'd made and found a way to use it for both peace and war. Their mastery of quantum mechanics had led to both revolutionary medical scanners and powerful weapons. Their understanding of gravity had created both public transportation and military vessels. "We should move closer," suggested the gaseous observer. "Perhaps if we..." An alert cut through the ship's quiet atmosphere. 3 human vessels had appeared out of nowhere, surrounding them. Their cloaking technology was useless. "Greetings, Council Investigation Vessel," a calm human voice transmitted on all frequencies. "We've been expecting you. Would you like to dock with our station? We've prepared a suitable environment for all your crew members." The captain froze. No species had ever detected their cloaked ships before, let alone so easily. On the screens, they could see the human ships clearly now. They were smaller than council vessels, but sleek and advanced in ways that defied standard design principles. With no other choice, they accepted the invitation. The human ships escorted them to a massive space station orbiting Earth's moon. As they docked, the captain noticed something that made their crystalline structure shiver. The station was new, built in the last few days specifically for this meeting. Inside the station, they found perfectly crafted environments for each of their species. The humans had studied them well enough to know exactly what they needed to survive and be comfortable. It was both impressive and unsettling. A human diplomat named Robert greeted them with a warm smile. "We hope you'll find everything to your liking. We've prepared detailed reports about our civilization, but we thought you might prefer to see things firsthand. Would you like a tour of our solar system?" The captain noticed something about the human smile. It wasn't just friendly. It held a hint of pride. These humans knew exactly how advanced they were, and they were eager to show what they could do. As the investigation team followed Robert through the station, they realized they weren't really here to investigate humanity. They were here to witness humanity's debut on the galactic stage. And based on what they'd seen so far, it was going to be a performance that would change everything. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Species from every corner of the galaxy had come to debate what they now called the human question. The investigation team's report had sparked both fear and fascination among the council members. The Grand Speaker's silver skin rippled with stress as thousands of beings argued at once. Some floated in their anti-gravity bubbles, others stomped their many feet, and a few even changed colors to show their anger. The noise of 1,000 translation devices working at once filled the air with a high-pitched whine. "They must be contained," shouted a council member whose species looked like living crystal. "Any species that advances this quickly is a threat to galactic stability. Our laws exist for a reason." A beam made of swirling gas countered from its environmental pod. "But think of what we could learn from them. They solved problems that have stumped our best minds for millennia. Their approach to faster-than-light travel alone could revolutionize space travel." "That's exactly why they're dangerous," rumbled a massive creature covered in thick scales. "They turned their FTL discovery into both a transport system and a weapon. Everything they touch becomes a tool for both peace and war." The debate grew louder. Some members demanded immediate action to isolate Earth. Others wanted to study humans like lab specimens. A few even suggested offering them full council membership immediately, hoping to gain access to their technology. In the observers section, Thomas Reed watched with a small smile. He had already sent the signal. Everything was going according to plan. The Grand Speaker raised all 4 arms, trying to restore order. "We will proceed with a formal vote on whether to." A deep hum cut through the chaos. The chamber's massive doors swung open. Admiral James Walker of Earth's Space Fleet walked in, his simple blue uniform standing out among the elaborate council robes. Behind him came Earth's delegation, scientists, diplomats, and military leaders, all walking with quiet confidence. The chamber fell silent. No one had invited them. No one had even known they were coming. The security systems should have stopped them, but they had walked right in as if the Council's best defenses didn't exist. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," Admiral Walker's voice carried clearly without any translation device. "We apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we grew tired of waiting for an invitation." He smiled, but his eyes were serious. "You've been talking about us. We thought it was time to talk with us." The Grand Speaker's skin flickered rapidly between silver and gold. This is unprecedented. You cannot simply walk into the council chamber uninvited." "Actually," said a human scientist named Mary, stepping forward with a datapad. "According to Council Law 247b, any species capable of reaching this chamber has the right to petition for audience. We reached here, didn't we?" The council members stared in shock. Humans had not only mastered space travel and advanced technology, they had also studied council law. They had found a legal way to crash the galaxy's most secure meeting. Admiral Walker moved to the center of the chamber. "We understand your fears. Humanity is different. We don't follow your normal patterns of development. We take unexpected paths. We solve problems in ways you never considered." He paused, looking around the chamber. "But isn't that exactly what the galaxy needs? New perspectives, fresh ideas." A brave council member spoke up. "Your people turn every discovery into a potential weapon." "We turn every discovery into every possible tool," Admiral Walker corrected. "Because we learned long ago that survival depends on being ready for anything. But right now, we're not here to fight." He pressed a button on his sleeve, and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. "We're here to help. Your long-range sensors might have missed it, but there's a crisis coming, a big one. And we think we know how to stop it." The hologram showed a star system on the edge of Council space. The Council's best scientists had said this star would stay stable for another 1,000 years. But the human data showed it was about to go supernova in less than a month. The chamber erupted in fresh chaos. But this time, it wasn't just fear in their voices. Now there was something new, hope, because for the first time in Council history, Someone had offered a solution before they even finished describing the problem. The test chamber aboard the Council's central station was enormous, designed to safely demonstrate new technologies from across the galaxy. Today, it would witness something entirely new. Hundreds of Council members watched from behind protective barriers as the human team prepared their demonstration. Admiral Walker stood confidently beside a small silver device that looked too simple to be revolutionary. The Council's chief scientist, a tall being with 6 eyes and scaled skin, stepped forward with a challenge. "You claim your FTL drive works differently from ours. Prove it." Mary, the human scientist, smiled and activated a holographic display. Traditional FTL drives punch through space like a needle through cloth. Our approach is different. She pointed to their device. We fold space itself, like this. She picked up a piece of paper, folded it in half, and poked a hole through both layers. Distance doesn't matter when you can bring 2 points in space together. The Council scientists muttered among themselves. One spoke up, their crystalline form glittering with skepticism. Such a method would require impossible amounts of energy. "Only if you fight against space-time," Admiral Walker replied. "We learn to work with it instead." He nodded to his team. "Show them." The silver device hummed to life. The space around it began to ripple like water. Council instruments screamed warnings as their sensors detected something they'd never seen before. Space itself was bending, folding like paper in an invisible wind. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed as emergency systems activated. The station's main power core was failing, threatening to explode. The Council members panicked, some fleeing toward escape pods. But the humans didn't run. Instead, Mary rushed to the nearest control panel. "Your power core is using outdated containment protocols," she said, her fingers flying over the controls. "We can fix this." "Admiral, we need the demonstration unit." Without hesitation, Admiral Walker ordered his team to shut down their FTL device. They quickly rewired it, connecting it to the station's power systems. Mary explained as they worked. "Your containment field is failing because it can't handle the energy spikes. But our folding technology can redirect that energy back into itself." The Council's engineers protested. "You can't modify our systems. The protocols will get us all killed if we follow them." Admiral Walker cut in. "Sometimes you need to break the rules to save lives." Time was running out. The station's core was reaching critical levels. Council members watched in shock as the humans ignored safety protocols, broke through security systems, and rebuilt connections that had existed for centuries. Mary's voice was calm despite the chaos. "Ready? 3, 2, 1. She activated their modified device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the alarms went quiet. The emergency lights stopped flashing. The power readings returned to normal. The humans had done in 5 minutes what the Council's best engineers couldn't have done in 5 days. The station's chief engineer, a being made of pure energy, scanned the modifications with trembling light tentacles. This shouldn't be possible. You didn't just contain the problem. You improved our entire power system's efficiency by 40%. Admiral Walker shrugged. "We needed to divert the excess energy somewhere. Might as well put it to good use." The Council members stared at the humans with new understanding. It wasn't just that humans had developed advanced technology. They could adapt it on the fly. They could look at a problem and see solutions nobody else had imagined. And most importantly, they weren't afraid to try those solutions, even when everyone else said they were impossible. The chief scientist stepped forward again, all 6 eyes blinking rapidly. "Your FTL demonstration. Was this emergency planned?" Mary laughed. "Of course not. But it proved something more important than our FTL drive. It showed how humans solve problems." "And how is that?" asked a curious Council member. "Together," Admiral Walker answered. "We combine our knowledge, adapt to the situation, and never let rules stand in the way of the right solution." He looked around the room. The galaxy is full of challenges that need new approaches. We're offering more than just technology. We're offering a new way of thinking. The council members began to discuss among themselves, but this time the tone was different. The fear was being replaced by curiosity, and in some cases, excitement. They had come to judge humanity's technology, but had witnessed something far more valuable. Humanity's greatest gift, the ability to find hope and solutions in the middle of a crisis. The emergency alert echoed through the council chamber just 3 days after the humans' demonstration. The star they had warned about was destabilizing faster than anyone had predicted. 2 billion people on 3 different worlds were now in danger, and traditional evacuation methods would take weeks they didn't have. The council's emergency session dissolved into chaos. The Grand Speaker's silver skin had turned almost white with stress as different species argued about proper procedures and protocols. Their fastest ships could only evacuate a small fraction of the population in time. Admiral Walker stood up from the observers section, his voice cutting through the noise. "We can help. Our ships are ready." "Impossible," shouted a council member. "Your vessels aren't rated for mass evacuation. They don't have proper life support for different species. The regulations clearly state." "The regulations won't matter if those people die," Mary interrupted, standing beside the admiral. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's evacuation fleet. 50 ships of various sizes waited just outside council space. They looked different from standard council vessels, more compact, with strange bulges and modifications covering their hulls. The Grand Speaker's skin flickered between colors. "Even if we accept your help, there's no way to coordinate such a large operation in time. The paperwork alone." "We've already uploaded our coordination plans to your systems," said Robert, another human delegate. "Our ships can work together with council vessels. We've studied all your protocols and adapted our systems to match." A new alarm blared. The star's collapse was accelerating. They had hours, not days. The council members looked at each other in desperation. The Grand Speaker's skin finally settled on a deep blue of resignation. "Very well. Show us your plan." The humans moved quickly. Admiral Walker directed his ships to spread out around the endangered system. Mary explained as they worked. "Traditional evacuations move people one way, in a straight line. We're going to create a web of folded space. Each ship will connect to 2 others, creating multiple evacuation routes at once." The council watched in amazement as the human ships took position. Their strange FTL drives activated simultaneously, and space itself seemed to ripple between them. The humans had turned their revolutionary travel technology into a vast transportation network. "First wave, begin evacuation," Admiral Walker commanded. The rescue operation moved with incredible speed. Council ships worked alongside human vessels, learning to use the humans' space-folding network. Where normal evacuations would have taken hours to move a few thousand people, the combined fleet was moving millions to safety in minutes. But halfway through the operation, one of the human ships reported a problem. Its folding drive was failing under the strain. The evacuation web would collapse if the ship dropped out. The council members prepared to panic, but they watched in surprise as the humans stayed calm. The ship's crew was already solving the problem. "Rerouting power from life support," reported the ship's captain. "We can hold the fold for 10 more minutes." "Your crew will die without life support," protested a council observer. "We're in emergency suits," the captain replied simply. "Crew safety is secondary to the mission." This concept shocked the council, the idea that a crew would risk their lives, deliberately sacrificing their comfort and safety to save others. But that was exactly what the humans were doing, all across the evacuation zone. Every human ship pushed its systems to the limit and beyond, held together by quick repairs and desperate solutions. As the star began its final collapse, the last transport passed through the evacuation web. The human ships disengaged their drives just as the shockwave reached the system's edge. They had done it. 2 billion people had been evacuated in less than 6 hours. In the council chamber, the final casualty report appeared on the main screen. 0. Not a single life had been lost. The council members stared at the number in disbelief. What they had thought impossible had been accomplished through a combination of human innovation and sacrifice. The Grand Speaker turned to Admiral Walker, its skin now showing the deep gold of respect. How did you know your plan would work? The risks were enormous. Walker smiled tiredly. We didn't know, but when lives are at stake, you don't wait for certainty. You take action, solve problems as they come, and trust in your ability to find a way. That's the human way. The council chamber fell silent. The humans hadn't just saved 2 billion lives. They had demonstrated a completely new way of facing a crisis. They had shown that sometimes the old rules and careful procedures had to give way to innovation, courage, and the willingness to take necessary risks. The council chamber felt different now. Where there had once been fear and suspicion of humans, there was now a quiet respect. A week had passed since the Great Evacuation, and the council had gathered to officially discuss humanity's place in galactic society. The Grand Speaker stood in the center of the chamber, its silver skin glowing with formal patterns. The council has witnessed humanity's capabilities firsthand. Their methods, while unconventional, have proven extraordinarily effective. The speaker paused, looking at the human delegation. However, before we proceed with any formal recognition, we must address certain concerns. Admiral Walker stood, straightening his uniform. You want to know about our colonies beyond Earth's solar system. A shocked murmur ran through the chamber. The council's head of security, a being with dark scales and glowing eyes, leaned forward. How did you know that was our concern? Because it's what I would want to know, Walker replied with a slight smile. And yes, we have colonies, quite a few of them. Actually, he pressed a button on his sleeve, and a holographic map appeared in the chamber. Dozens of points of light marked human settlements, spread across a region of space that made several council members gasp. Mary stepped forward to explain. We didn't just develop new ways to travel through space. We found new ways to make hostile worlds livable. The hologram zoomed in on one colony, showing a domed city on a world that should have been too cold for any life. Every colony is an experiment in survival, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Why didn't you tell us about these colonies before? Asked a council member made of swirling gases. Robert, the human diplomat, answered. We needed to see how you would react to us. If you had responded with fear and hostility, we needed our colonies to remain hidden to protect our people. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Many of them had indeed advocated for containing or controlling humanity just days ago. The humans had been wise to be cautious. The Grand Speaker's skin rippled with curiosity. And now, why reveal this information today? Admiral Walker's voice carried clearly through the chamber. Because we believe it's time for real cooperation. Humanity doesn't want to hide anymore. We want to work with the Council, share our knowledge, and learn from yours. He paused, looking around the chamber. But we need to be clear. We come as equals, not as subjects. A council member floated forward in their anti-gravity bubble. Your colonies break dozens of council regulations about planetary development. Yes, Mary agreed calmly. Just like our FTL drive breaks the rules about how space travel should work. Just like our evacuation plan broke the rules about proper procedures. Sometimes breaking the rules leads to breakthroughs. The chamber fell silent as the council members considered this. The humans had proven, again and again, that their unusual approaches could solve problems that had stumped the galaxy's finest minds for centuries. The Grand Speaker's skin shifted to a deep blue of decision. Perhaps it is time for some rules to change. Change. A crystal being chimed in alarm. The Council's rules have maintained peace and order for 10,000 years, and now they need to evolve. Robert replied. The galaxy is facing new challenges. Climate changes on 1,000 worlds. Stars dying before their time. Species struggling to survive on failing planets. We can help with these problems, But not if we're bound by rules that never imagined our solutions. Admiral Walker stood straighter. We're not asking you to abandon your principles. We're offering to help you expand them. Imagine what we could achieve together. Human innovation combined with council wisdom and resources. The Grand Speaker raised all four arms for attention. The council will vote. Will humanity be granted full membership, with all rights and responsibilities that entails? The chamber hummed with discussion. But this time, there was no fear in their voices. The humans had proven themselves not just through their technology, but through their actions. They had saved billions of lives. They had shown they could be trusted with great power. The vote, when it came, was not unanimous. Change never is. But it was decisive. Humanity would join the council, bringing with them new ideas, new methods, and new hope for problems long thought unsolvable. As the council members cast their votes, Thomas Reed watched from his familiar spot in the observer section. Soon, he would sit among them as Earth's official representative. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would help guide that change. Not through force or fear, but through innovation, adaptation, and the courage to try new solutions. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council, and the Great Chamber barely resembled its former self. Gone were the rigid seating arrangements that had separated species for thousands of years. Now representatives sat or floated wherever they could best work together. The chamber had become a place of action rather than just ceremony. Thomas Reed stood at the central platform, no longer an observer but Earth's official representative. The simple black suit he once wore to avoid attention now symbolized humanity's straightforward approach to problems. Around him, council members from 100 different species worked on various projects, many using modified versions of human technology. The terraforming project on Kepler-4 is ahead of schedule, Thomas announced to the chamber. The human-designed environmental domes are already supporting 3 different species who lost their homeworlds. He smiled at the crystal beings who had once been their strongest critics. They now lived comfortably in these domes, their civilizations saved from extinction. The Grand Speaker, its silver skin shimmering with newfound energy, moved forward. Humanity has changed more in 6 months than the Council changed in 1,000 years. Some would say too much has changed too quickly. Change was always coming, Thomas replied calmly. We just helped make it purposeful rather than chaotic. He gestured to a group of younger council members who were modifying a traditional council ship with human FTL technology. Look at them. They're not just copying our technology. They're improving it. They're finding their own new ways of thinking. A being of pure energy floated nearby, its light pulses showing excitement. We've learned that rules should guide us, not limit us, it said. Yesterday, my people solved a power crisis by combining human folding technology with our natural energy forms. The solution broke 17 different regulations, but it worked. The chamber filled with similar stories. Species that had once competed now worked together, combining their unique abilities with human innovation. The council had become a place where problems were solved rather than just discussed. Admiral Walker, now a regular visitor to the chamber, watched from a side platform as Thomas coordinated the various projects. Did you ever think it would work this well? He asked Mary, who stood beside him studying data from a dozen different worlds. Better than well, she replied. They're not just accepting our ideas, they're building on them. Look at this. She showed him plans for a new type of space station, combining designs from 5 different species. It's more advanced than anything Earth could have developed alone. The chamber's main screen lit up with an emergency signal, but this time there was no panic. A solar storm was threatening a major trade route, but 3 different species immediately stepped forward with possible solutions. They worked together, combining their knowledge with human-inspired problem-solving methods. Thomas watched with pride as the council members coordinated their response. No lengthy debates, no arguments about protocol, just quick, effective action. The solar storm was diverted within hours, and trade ships continued their journeys safely. We need to recognize something. the Grand Speaker announced after the crisis was resolved. Humanity didn't just bring us new technology. They showed us a new way to be a council. Its skin shifted to show patterns never seen before, representing new ideas and possibilities. A council member made of swirling gases spoke up. My species once thought we had reached the peak of our development. Now our youngsters dream of new possibilities. They ask questions we never thought to ask. Thomas stepped down from the platform, walking among the various species working together. Some were designing new ships, others were solving climate problems on distant worlds, and a few were even recreating their own versions of Earth's space-folding technology. "This is humanity's real gift to the galaxy," Thomas said, addressing the chamber. "Not our technology or our solutions, but our way of looking at problems. The belief that there's always another way, always a new approach to try." The Grand Speaker's skin glowed with a pattern that matched the enthusiasm in the room. "And what does humanity gain from all this?" Thomas smiled, looking around at the chamber that had once feared his species, but now embraced their ideas. "We gain exactly what we hoped for, a galaxy of equals. Partners who can help us grow and learn, just as we help them. After all, the universe is too big and too interesting to explore it alone." As if to emphasize his words, a young council member rushed in with news of a strange anomaly at the galaxy's edge, something that had puzzled the council for centuries. Without hesitation, representatives from a dozen species, including humans, gathered to tackle the mystery together. The age of isolation was over. The time of working alone had passed. Humanity had shown the galaxy that the best solutions come not from following old paths, but from daring to find new ones. Together.